Hey everybody, welcome back to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. I am Joe Labriola, and today this is episode 43 of A Matter of Life and Maiden. It's crazy to think that it's episode 43, but it is. And didn't do much content after I talked about Steve's birthday back in March, early March. March is a pretty busy month for me, as was April and most of May. But now that the Run for Your Lives tour has officially kicked off tonight in Budapest, Hungary. Eddie and the boys have slowly, song by song, released the set list, and the full set list is up now on their social media channels, on Facebook, Instagram, their webpage, and elsewhere. It's all over the internet. I kind of caught glimpses of it as I was on my break at work, and I just got home. And the full set list is revealed, and I kind of went through and saw everything. My impressions about it, there are a lot of things about this that kind of stick out to me from the beginning. And the first of that is there is no song from No Prayer for the Dying. As advertised on the poster of the Run for Your Lives tour, they said they were going to play stuff from the first 9 Iron Maiden albums, and nothing from No Prayer made the cut for the set list. And I've talked about this before, which, I'm not really arguing about it. I've said this in the podcast many times before. Matt and I have said this over the years in conversation with one another. There's really nothing from that album that I would care to see live. And I thought that this might be the shot that, maybe a song from No Prayer would make it to the cut. But in a way, it kind of shows you where the band is at. They haven't played anything from No Prayer since that tour and the Fear of the Dark tour, like around that time. There really hasn't been anything played really from that record. So it tells you what they think of it too. I argue it's their weakest album they ever did, and I stand by that. And this is an example of another reason why I think they kind of agree to a certain extent. They know that there was nothing on there that was that great. They knew they were in a dark time. So that's the first thing I noticed when I saw the set list. There's nothing from No Prayer for the Dying on this. The second thing I noticed about this set is, and one of the big things is, there's 3 amazing, basically epics on this. In Phantom of the Opera, Rhyme the Ancient Mariner, and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And that's absolutely phenomenal. Now, I'm going to nitpick it a little bit here because I have seen these songs live. I've seen Rhyme twice, I've seen Phantom of the Opera once, and I've seen Seventh Son of a Seventh Son once. So in a way, it's really nice that they have those in there for fans who kind of missed the Made in England reboot tour, basically, or history tour, when they toured in 2012 through 2014. Those 3 years, 2012, 2013, and 2014. So it's kind of cool that they threw that into the set. That was a big surprise for me. I did not expect them to play Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. However, I will say, me personally, a song that I would have loved to see that I haven't seen yet, I would have rather have seen To Tame a Land in this list. I think that would have been absolutely phenomenal. So moving on from that second point I want to make is, the third point about this is, and I've kind of seen a little bit of footage and stuff, not a full video footage or anything like that, but just I've seen Simon playing the drums and stuff. He looks really good. I've seen the walk on Eddie and the leather jacket, and Bruce and his leathers, and they have, all the guys are dressed up like a throwback to the first couple albums, which is cool. It's kind of a mashup between, if I had to explain this set, it's like they did the early days tour with the Eddie Rips Up the World tour, mixed with Give Me Ed Till I'm Dead, mixed with a little bit of Somewhere Back in Time, mixed with Maiden England. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about it. They kind of went back and are kind of taking little bits and bobs and pieces of those first couple history tours that I mentioned. In Give Me Ed Till I'm Dead, Eddie Rips Up the World, and some of the bits and pieces from Somewhere Back in Time and the Made in England set. The history tours that they've done, from the early 2000s to the present. So I think that's really cool because in a way they're trying to give fans a little bit of everything. People who might have missed Somewhere Back in Time, or people who might have missed Made in England, or people like I missed I miss Give Me Eddie Till I'm Dead. I miss Eddie Rips Up the World. And the first time I saw Iron Maiden was in 2008, which, in my opinion, was still the best set list they've ever done for Somewhere Back in Time. This set is really cool in that way. Now, gripes I have with it, like I said, I already mentioned Tame Land. I would have rather have seen that. I would have kind of rather have seen a little bit more from Fear of the Dark, a little bit more from Peace of Mind. This is a set that really leans heavily into Killers. And I want to kind of touch on that because who knows what the band talked about or what the original set looked like or if they even knew what they were playing until they rehearsed with Simon Dawson. Paul Di'Anno passed away. Maybe they, altered the set and changed it up to fit Simon's playing or wanted to give us another song. That's another thing. There's 18 songs on the set because some of the songs are shorter. The past couple of years they've only been playing 15, 16, 17, so we get one more. But all these extra things that are kind of thrown in a way, unless Sides of March is taped, in which case it's 17. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. But if they decided to do it that way and make the set that way, maybe it was just a creative choice. Maybe they were honoring Paul. Because there's a lot of stuff in here from Killers. And it's cool that it's called Run For Your Lives. But in a way, even though Run to the Hills is on the set, it feels almost more like a Killers themed set list. You have Ides of March, whether it's a taped intro or they play it, that's Killers. Murders in the Rue Morgue is Killers. Rat Child is Killers. Killers is obviously Killers. There's 4 songs from Killers on here. And that's a big thing. Now going back and touching on some stuff, Legacy of the Beast had a nice mix. It had a lot of Peace of Mind songs. It had like 4 songs from Peace of Mind. Somewhere Back in Time had 4 songs from Power Slave. And Seventh Son obviously had 5. They played like 5 songs from the record. The Future Past tour was dedicated to Somewhere in Time. So I feel like that might be one of the reasons why they kind of went back and sprinkled in popular stuff and stuff they played over the last 16, 17 years kind of sprinkled in here, 20 years sprinkled in here, because, like I said, a lot of new fans didn't get a chance to see it. On the same token, though, I would have liked to have seen, Afraid to Shoot Strangers in the set again. I would have liked to have seen Prowler. I would have liked to have seen To Tame a Land. I would have liked to have seen Remember Tomorrow. I would have liked to have seen Purgatory. I would have liked to have seen some other unique songs. I love that Phantom's in the set. That's amazing. And we kind of knew that from the trailer, the spoiler, the initial, advertisement or the initial release of them gearing up for this tour. Awesome that Rhyme's in it, and awesome that Seventh Son in that. That really threw me for a loop, Seventh Son. I mean, I was not expecting that at all. At all. But I think, like I said, I think it's a good, solid set, but I'm not going to pretend like, and I'm being greedy here, because I've been fortunate to see Maiden 10 times, and I've seen, like, pretty much everything for the most part from the 80s anyway that I've wanted to see. And a lot of stuff from the reunion, too. I mean, the Book of Souls tour was amazing. I've seen, 6 songs from Senjutsu, 6 or 7 songs from Senjutsu, so those 2 albums I pretty much got covered. I talk about it on the podcast all the time. When the Final Frontier tour came in North America before the album was released, they did like a greatest hits tour for the newer stuff. So I saw 4 songs from Brave New World, 3 from Dance of Death, 2 from Matter, Life, and Death, and El Dorado from the Final Frontier, because that was the latest album that was coming out up to that point. So I've seen a really good crop of Maiden songs, and I talk about that in an episode if you go back. I can't remember what episode it was exactly, but it's songs that I've seen live and songs that I want to see live. And I go through all that stuff. How many times I've seen each song, which ones I want to see. So that's really cool. But do I like it? Yes, I do like the set list. Iron Maiden is my favorite band. They're like one of my favorite things of all time. So yes, I do like the set list. I think it's awesome. I would go pay to see them play, cover songs. I love them so much. I love the guys in the band. I will miss Nico tremendously, and it's so surreal to me that, I got to see them on the Future Past tour, and it was the last time I saw Maiden. It was my 10th time. Perfect circle from Somewhere Back in Time to the Future Past tour. It was just amazing. And probably 2 of my favorite 80s albums from the band and Power Slave and Somewhere in Time. They're probably, those two records are always near the top of my list, and they're usually right beside each other as probably my favorite 80s records from these guys. And it's hard to pick a favorite, but those are probably my two most relatable albums, where I think Somewhere in Time is probably my most relatable. I do think that Power Slave is right there, too. And, any given day I kind of switch back and forth, because I love science fiction and history and antiquity, and those two are really tied closely to who I am as a person, as are a lot of the other albums I did, too. I mean, most of them, the majority of them. But those two in particular for the 80s are really special to me. Some of the first, material and imagery I latched onto. I latched on to Power Slave Eddie immediately. Mummy and Pharaoh Eddie. I latched onto that. I mean, I have a necklace on now and I wear it all the time. It's a gold chain with an Egyptian ankh on it with the Eye of Horus in the middle. So I mean, I'm a big fan of Egypt and that kind of culture and antiquity. So big fan of that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to hop on here, and I'm going to put a graphic up here and show the actual set list that they revealed. And you're going to see that, but after I put that up, I want to show you then a set list that I came up with after Maiden announced they were going to do this tour back in September of last year. I actually made a set list around that time too, right before, a couple months before I went to see Maiden on Future Past Tour in November of last year. And I made a speculated set list of what I think they would play, and the most obvious choices of what I thought would play. And then I threw some things in there that I thought, man, it would be cool to see this. I'm sure they're going to play it, but for the most part, I played it safe on it. It was a very conservative list. It wasn't a dream set list by any means, but it was what I thought they were going to play. And, to be honest, some of the stuff that I have on it is very similar to what the actual reveal is. But you can see the subtle differences in there that I put in. But I'm going to put them up there in a minute after I'm done talking. I'll wait till the end of the video so you can see that. So you can see the comparison between what they actually revealed as the new set list for the Run for Your Lives tour, and then my kind of speculated set list that I thought they were going to play. I thought this is probably what they're going to do. So you'll see the subtle differences there. But all in all, I like it. I like it. It's not my favorite set. It's not my favorite set. I think I would love to see some of the stuff, the deeper cuts. So the deeper cuts. It's just, I don't know what it's going to be like. I know they're going to probably come over here and they're going to play in the States next year in 2026, and I'm going to go because they're my favorite band, like I said. But I don't, and here's the thing, I don't know if they continue down the trend of what they did with the last couple tours, they're probably going to keep the set list the same from 2025 to 2026. I can't see it changing that much. So I'm probably going to see, we're probably going to see the same exact set list, because they did the same thing for the Legacy of the Beast set in 2018, 2019. The set was exactly the same when they played in Europe and they played in the States and elsewhere around the world. They changed it up for 2022 because Senjutsu had come out in 2021 and they wanted to incorporate some of those songs. That's understandable. That was a new album and they wanted to throw stuff in. And then they did Senjutsu again with Future Past and kind of put those two albums together, give you a little bit of a new tour and an old tour, which I thought was ingenious. That was absolutely amazing. One of my favorite concerts ever. I loved it. And, but keeping in that trend and that trajectory, and that set list was the same too, Future Past Tour from 2023 to 2024. So if they continue down this kind of thing where they keep the set exactly the same for however many years they're touring, it's probably going to stay this way. This is probably locked in. Now, I want to touch on a point when they released this and they said hey, Rod said in a statement or something back in September when they talked about the announcement of this tour that, get your tickets and everything because there's going to be some of these songs on here that they're never going to play again. Now, when I hear that, what I think by looking at the set is it's probably going to be Rime the Ancient Mariner, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and Phantom of the Opera. Those are probably the three that they're probably not going to play after the set. Those are probably going to be the ones that they're going to be hey, we're going to put these back into the archives. One thing about this set that is either a cool thing or a not so cool thing is I love when they close with Wasted Years. I thought it was ingenious when I saw it the first time on the Book Souls World Tour when they closed with it. I thought it was amazing when they closed with it last year when I saw them on the Future Past Tour. I don't know how I feel about them closing with it on this, to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because there's two reasons. Number one is it's the Run for Your Lives tour. I think personally it would have been cooler if they closed with Run to the Hills. I think that would have fit the whole like motif of this better. Now I know they did that on Legacy of the Beast when they did like the 2018 and 19. Run to the Hills at the end of this for the encore would be great. Now here's the kind of like caveat to that. If they close with Wasted Years because that was the last song Nico ever played live with the band because he's retired from touring now, then awesome. I'm glad it's in that position. And maybe that's what it is. And if you look at it from that standpoint and you're like, hey, they're closing with Wasted Years because it was Nico's last song. This is for Nico to remember him. The last song we play at every show moving forward now without Nico live touring with us is going to be Wasted Years. And then you look at how they're like showing their love to Paul too, who passed away in October of last year, with a lot of Killers influenced songs on this, then that's awesome. And then the fact that when you watch interviews, Bruce has talked about playing with Simon, and he's saying like he's pretty much like it's almost like I'm playing with Clyde Burr. So there's three guys, Nico retired from touring, Paul sadly passed away, Clive passed away, many years ago, and it's kind of like for them a remembrance of their friends and a remembrance of the times they had. And when we're talking about stuff coming up down the line here, when we talk about Infinite Dreams, that book that's coming out, the big Iron Maiden 50-year celebration, it's going to be a book of like all these hidden archives and documents and photos. Definitely going to buy that. And then that documentary that's coming out, they partnered with Discovery to make a documentary that's going to be amazing about Iron Maiden, 50 years of Iron Maiden. And to touch on that again, that's a song that I wanted to see played live that I've never seen, Infinite Dreams, and I thought it would be in the set. Especially after they talked about the 50-year anniversary and that they titled the book Infinite Dreams. I thought, oh man, it has to be in the Run for Your Life set. So that's another song that's missing. So little things like that, and yeah, I'm griping and I'm nitpicking, and it's their set list. They play what they want. They're Iron Maiden. They can do whatever the hell they want, and I'm grateful just to be a fan and to have seen the things that I've seen. So I'm not going to gripe. I mean, I'm going to go see the show. But I really, really wish there were some other songs in here, ones that I hadn't seen. I've seen The Clairvoyant several times. It would have been great to see Infinite Dreams in place of that. Seven Son is awesome. It's great to see. But again, I'd rather see To Tame a Land. Just a couple things here or there that I think should have been subtly tweaked. But then again, that's my perception. I've been fortunate to see them, so I am being biased. There's a lot of people who haven't seen them at all. There's a lot of people. When I went to Future Past last year with my girlfriend, it was her first time seeing them, and she loved it. But there were people beside us who were wearing Maiden shirts, and I was like, "How many times have you seen them?" And they were like, "This is our first time." So, in a way, it's like I get it. You're trying to kind of not do something that's really exclusively kind of like heavily focused on an album and its deeper cuts. They're doing a more general set list tour. And it's kind of what that is. And I think, truly, this might be, and I'm not saying this negatively, I think this is the most generalized set list that I've personally seen them since I've been a fan. Actually, go see them live. This is probably the most generalized set list or conservative set list, I would say, that they've probably ever done. I think a lot of the stuff from somewhere back inside. I mean, that set list to me was solid gold. I mean, it's like untouchable. That and the Legacy of the Beast sets were amazing. And again, I absolutely loved Book of Souls and the Future Past tour too. I mean, those are my favorite concerts of all time, like those in particular. And this is just kind of like not as grandiose as that. I just don't feel like it's not as illuminating as those. It's not as in-depth. And I get what they're doing. Nico's not here anymore. Simon's on the drums now. And I think they're trying to really just kind of touch every niche that they haven't explored in a while for us fans, because the reality is, where do they go from here? It's like two options after this, and I feel like it's either 2026, they're playing this tour again, obviously, But then what do they do in 27, 28? It's either going to be new album, and they tour with that, or they're going to do a tour based on everything after the first 9 albums. And they'll probably skip the X Factor and Virtual 11 because they covered that on the Legacy of the Beast. They played The Sign of the Cross and they played Clansman. So then they're probably going to do Brave New World to the present. And they'll probably leave Senjutsu and Book of Souls out. And they might just do, Brave New World, Dance of Death, A Matter of Life and Death, Final Frontier. Maybe that's what they'll do. Or maybe they'll be like, hey, we're going to do 1 or 2 songs from the reunion albums, and there's 6 of them. And then they'll throw like Iron Maiden in, and Fear of the Dark, and another song. Like a Number of the Beast song or something. And that'll be 15 songs, 16 songs, give or take. Throw some cool stuff in there, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I just wanted to hop on here and just kind of talk about what I think about the set list. Some things about it that I like, some things about it I wish were just subtly different. And not to criticize the band. I don't mean this in a negative way. I'm just saying this because they're my favorite band, and there's things that I want to see that I haven't seen yet. And for fans who have never seen them, this is an awesome set. This would be a set that you would go to and be like, damn, this is amazing. Because you get a little bit of the old stuff, like the pre-Bruce stuff. You get some Bruce stuff, you get some really good highs in this with, especially a lot of the stuff with Power Slave. You're getting Ace Society, 2 Minutes to Midnight Rhyme. That's amazing. You're getting Seventh Son stuff. You're getting one song from Somewhere in Time, which they just played a whole tour based on that. So you're not going to get a slew of that. You're getting some good stuff from Number of the Beast. That's earlier. You're getting Run to the Hills. You're getting Hallowed Be Thy Name. You're getting the Number of the Beast. And it's cool. It's cool. So, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Take care of yourselves out there. Up the irons. Long live Eddie and the boys. Remember, Maiden is life. The rest is history. I'll see you guys next time. And I'll be back regularly now. I just needed a little break there for a little bit to get some things in order. I started a new job. I was working on another job, and things have changed a little bit. So just getting some stuff in order here. And yeah, I'm going to try to do at least 1 episode a month. That's my goal. And we will see where it goes from there. But everybody take care of yourselves out there. I'll see you guys next time. Stay tuned for the actual set list reveal versus my speculated set list that I made back in September of last year. September of 2024. And as always, thanks for listening to A Matter of Life and Maiden, the podcast of the Beast. This is Joe Labriola signing off. See you guys next time.